Welcome to the Poughkeepsie Gateway Project, the information session of 2018. This project is now a 3 or even maybe 4-way partnership with Arts Mid-Hudson, Positive, the Poughkeepsie Alliance, and also the Poughkeepsie Arts Commission. Today we're going to go over the timeline, the scope of the project, qualifications that you need, a little bit about the budget, some specific considerations about the site. We'll look at the application, and we'll do a Q&A at the end. So here's our timeline. Right now, the application is open on submittable.com, and we'll go over that in a little bit. So on April 2nd, the artist will be notified of the first jury decisions. Then we'll have a public meeting on the 17th for presentation and feedback on the designs. On the 30th, we'll have the finalist artists submit the designs, so there's going to be 2 rounds. And then in May, I'm not sure about the date yet, but in May we will select the final artist. We'll sign the contract. By July 15th, midsummer, we'll have the site prep complete, and the work takes place the 24th through the 4th, and we'll be done by the 4th, so we have our Positive celebration.
Just to add on that, so on July 15th, we have included in our budget Baxter coming in to prime the underpass, and that we're trying to get that as closest as we can before the painting actually starts. July 24th to August 4th is based on a 10-day completion project, and then I added a couple of days just for inclement weather. We could get a couple of consecutive rainy days, we can get a couple of consecutive 100-degree days, and we just wanted to make sure that we covered all our bases. It does not have to finish on August 4th, coinciding with Positive. We are looking to activate the space anyway to promote the festival, but that's not part of the criteria that has to be finished in. But we do not want to start any earlier than July 24th.
I do love a PowerPoint transition. So here's a little bit about the scope of the project. There are 4 sets of the 3 column supports that are available to be painted, 4 headers, 1 for each set. There are 4 slopes behind each set of supports, which you can choose to use or not. It does not include any of the steel structure, only the concrete. So nothing that has to do with the overpass directly, just the concrete that supports it. Here's a little bit of the qualifications for the artist. Hi, come on in, have a seat. So we are looking for artists that have a proven track record with murals, the ability to adapt quickly to potential challenging environments. So this is, there are going to be cars going by, you're going to be outside in the weather, and so the artists need to be adaptable and kind of be able to go with the flow a little bit as the climate changes and the environment changes. Also people walking by, asking questions, that kind of thing. We're looking for someone with a true commitment to the betterment of the city of Poughkeepsie and to celebrating the spirit of the region. Green and I have been talking quite a bit about what an opportunity this is to really welcome people into the city and bring back or bring to light what is already happening, which is this great new energy, this enthusiasm, this celebration and embrace of the arts that's happening already downtown. And when people get off the train, they're going to look up and say, wow, this is a city that's really practicing what they preach. They really, we've heard the art things are happening here, and now we see it right off the bat. The willingness to respond to the input of the community and stakeholders, including the DOT and Poughkeepsie Alliance. And that's really important. Not that we ask you to do a whole lot of gymnastics, we want you to stay true to your vision, but there are some pretty specific guidelines about what the DOT has to stick with, and keeping with that, again, that spirit and that theme of Poughkeepsie Loud.
So if you look at our tagline, it's really about what do you envision, keeping in mind the actual physical location of the space. When you're driving up into Main Street, you want it to be something that you're envisioning that can portray Poughkeepsie is for what it is. We're an inclusive community. We are special. We have a lot of things that no other city has. Diversity, love, on the brink of, an unspoken catalyst of all these new projects that are happening. And we wanted to make sure that we preserve the creative process in this. So it was really all about allowing for you to absorb the space, to look at it through video, to look at it through static pictures, and then to come away with a sense of what is the message that you want to portray? What is the social platform that you wanted to convey? It could be an abstract piece, it could include live pictures, it could include a moment in time. It could go back between moments in history in Poughkeepsie up to the present day. So we try to ease back on, how do you say, the parameters, and not give you a lot of kind of things to prevent you from kind of expanding and kind of thinking of a great idea. So I think that's what the most exciting thing about it is.
So for those of you who are familiar with what we were looking at doing last year, this is a big change from before. So the commission now is a flat fee of $8,000 that go directly to the artist. What's going to happen is that the artists are going to become temporary employees of Arts Mid-Hudson, and that includes the withholdings and liability. So that's a big difference from before. Also, it's going to include now power washing and prep, as Green mentioned before, lifts, paint, and other equipment that will be provided. So the fee is really for you doing the work. It's not for anything else other than that. Lodging and food per diem will be provided as necessary if someone is coming in from out of town. And it is really important to review the guidelines set forth in the DOT document. Corinne's going to mention that a little bit later. She also did a printout of that, and we can make copies if you like. It's also on the submittable application. But there are some kind of details. There's sort of quirky little things that the DOT
Very
recommends.
little things,
that we just wanted to attend to.
The only thing I just want to add to this financials and business is that, so in submitting your proposal, we just need you to be as specific as possible. So what your submission entails, whether or not you're going to be utilizing a team, how is this going to affect the production and the execution of the space. And then what we have done is that we were able to allot portions of the budget to be able to cover for lodging, just like Merritt said. And then once we get closer, and those artists that are invited to the second phase, that's when all of those logistical things will be ironed out. Mm-hmm. So if you're sitting with a little bit of unrest, like you're not sure, we're at A, that's like a F or G question. So we just want to let you know that there's plenty of time to talk about that and to make adjustments per everyone's submission.
So now we're going to take a little bit a look at the space itself. When we went last summer, Linda and I went to visit the site with the DOT folks. They were pretty clear about this, and there's no plans right now in the foreseeable future to change this actual structure. So from their standpoint, and so that means that that's good news, because whatever gets put up there will stay there for a long time. And also, just so you know, that they're not making any changes up until this point either. So it is what it is. And so if you go up there and look at the site, you'll see, aside from the prep and the cleanup, they're going to take out the vegetation and kind of make everything cleaned up. And it is as is for the most part.
So the other thing you will be seeing when you are going down to the space to actually execute, you will only see it power washed and primed. So that's the extent to what we've included. That is not going to come out of the budget that is set for the compensation for the artists. That is something that we've allotted separately. So you don't have to account for prep, you don't have to account for lifts. I mean, we'll get more into that. But just so you know, prepped and power washed is how you will see it and receive it.
There it is.
Exactly. We're verbatim.
Yeah, right. So there have been some questions about the site cleanup and maintenance. Corinne, do you want to talk a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so what we did in the budget and what we did based on O Positive Festival in general is we were able to team up with local volunteer organizations such as Nubian Directions, such as the United Way. And the United Way and those other organizations do volunteer events quarterly, every 3 months. So we have already organized with them to be able to come down and clean the actual underpass area. As an artist, if you were chosen to do the submission process, you are more than welcome to be part of that event, to come and clean up. But we thought it was imperative that we include the community in this process because it gives them ownership in what they see and gives them a sense of pride as to looking at it and say, hey, you know, I may not have painted it, but I had a part in that. So we're looking at maintaining the vegetation within, how do you call it, when it's not wild and free, you know, to keep it within certain parameters. And then basically, obviously, cleaning up any garbage, making sure that everything is, you know, on the up and up. The other thing is we will get a tremendous amount of traffic coming from the train station and people coming from outside of Poughkeepsie. And we want to present it in its best light. So the cleanup and the maintenance is definitely going to be a community-based project and model. I just want to introduce you guys to Denise, the art director, and Amy, the program director for O Positive in Kingston, and they're going to be joining us to answer any questions when we get to the Q&A part.
So this is what, if you haven't been on submittable.com before, this is what the top part of the application looks like. You see the screenshot of that, and then I'm hoping that it'll let me go right to there. No, it's not going to let me go right to there. Okay, so hang on 1 second, and I'll bring it up.
We might want to show the video
Sure.
clip.
Yeah, I would do that while I'm pulling up the other thing. So these are just some videos that we, oh, for heaven's sakes. Let me go back. Sorry.
If we can get the video,
Yeah, I'll do that.
it'll give everybody just like a clearer perception of actually, you know, what it entails. Because usually when you're passing by it, you're kind of seeing it as an overview, unless you're really looking at the specifics in case, you know, and it could have influenced your design as well. So we just want to make sure that if you had any questions, that you're able to look at it and see it at the moment.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to do this.
Oh yeah, you can get it through here.
And then we can, yeah.
Yep.
So this is what the application looks like here on Submittable. So you can see the top there, it says Poughkeepsie Gateway. And these are all the parameters. You can go through this at length, and it also has any of the supplemental documents that you need. You can download from there. So it just talks about the timeline there, a little bit about how we envision this project. And then I'm just going to come down to some stats about Poughkeepsie there. I'm going to come down to, let's see, well, let's just put this first. So here's the timeline. And then just, it's a pretty straightforward application. You just fill in just like, there's fields for your name, your address, where you're from. Please specify how your work will address the space. Your timeline, which is kind of outlined for you already, but you can be more specific so we can see what your plan looks like and how we can help you and support you in that plan. Describing the medium. This part is important about how you will engage the public. Again, this goes along with what you envision, and it's all about, you know, bringing, highlighting all the wonderful things that are going on in Poughkeepsie, its past, its present, its future, any of those things that you want to kind of talk about.
And any ideas
space.
you have about
Right.
activating the space at the moment, whether it's during the opening, whether it's something that you want to do biannually or maybe once a year, that's a perfect spot to include that.
What do you mean by activate?
So what I mean by activate the space, if you wanted to have an event just based on, let's say if it was part of the volunteer event, right, and you were doing cleanup. So if you had an idea of maybe joining those local communities or those grassroots organizations that are there, you know, what are some of your thoughts about the theme or the overall vision of what you have painted, and how does that collaborate and come together as a thought? And it could be something, it could be like a band performing there, or, you know, some type of presentation that's done. So.
You can see here the types of files that we are accepting here. So you can choose that for your design and your resume. Any materials that you think you might need, and this can change, you know, if you, as you think of it more clearly. This isn't, you're not set in stone here, but we just want to see what your plan is. And then this is really important. If you don't press save draft, but you click out of it, it will go away. And once you press submit, that's it. that is done for you. I mean, we can always go back and if you need help with it before the deadline, call Arts Mid-Hudson because we're administering this part of it. And you can call us and say, hey, I need help with the application. That's totally fine. But if you don't click save draft or submit, the information you load in there will go away. So just make sure that you're really clear about that. And then, I'm going to go back down to the video.
Yeah, so
Here we go. So here's the video. This just gives you a sense of the movement of the space right now.
So the actual submission process could include the pillars and the ramps. So it doesn't have to include both, but you can incorporate one or the other if you choose to, depending on what your submission is. And then as far as the girders that are up on top, those obviously are not to be painted at all. So it's really just the concrete surfaces. And nothing on the sidewalk.
And it should be the columns and the apron or the ramp?
Right,
Okay, not both.
not both. Well, you can do both
You
if
can
you
do
want.
both,
You
yeah.
can do both if you want, or you can
But
do
you-
one or the other.
I just need a lot more paint.
Right.
But not in the beams, the beams are not. it's a
The
normal.
beams, no, yeah, none of the metal structure. So we will see, we're trying to source some video of the underpass in better weather. So as soon as we get that, we will forward that with
Yeah.
to you.
Doesn't that look
Yeah,
appealing?
so,
Come and paint
yeah,
it.
it's not really
It's
the
20
most
degrees.
ideal.
It's concrete.
Yeah,
There,
it's concrete.
This is a little bit better.
I can show you guys some pictures on my
Yeah.
phone later if you
Yeah.
want, without snow. But it's good to know that this is what it can look like when
Yeah.
the weather is not
Yeah.
great.
Right.
Well, and we had pictures earlier too. If you want me to go back to that, I can
Oh.
show you that earlier
Oh,
too.
that's fine.
So, I mean, thinking about the execution of the paint during July, we will be in close contact with the city to, you know, if we need to take safety precautions, as to, you know, kind of like not closing off the road, but maybe deterring traffic a little bit more towards the middle. They're aware of it and they're 100% on board. So, you know, we want to make sure, drop a paintbrush in the middle of the street, it gets run over, you know, like the most weirdest things could happen.
Corinne, I have a question.
Yes.
I noticed one column I looked at last year, and one column was particularly damaged because there was a leak from the top.
From the weeping, right?
Did the New York Transit fix that? Or?
I can't give you up-to-date information on that, but I can find out for
That's
you.
going to peel the paint off
Yeah.
really fast.
Yep. The only other thing we did add to the submittable process was we included the schematics. So I guess, I don't know if there's anything that you can get from that to determine, you know, your submission design. But we can get that information for you.
It's the eastern.
Do you know which number column it was?
The eastern northern column.
Okay.
The one that's
Farthest up the street on the
yeah,
left.
where that
Yeah.
car is.
It's
The
kinda
second car, right?
neat if you
Kind
can.
of,
Yeah.
Up here, this
yeah,
one?
left. No,
Okay.
it's not
Yeah.
the photo. Little left.
Nah,
Over
Little
here?
left.
No, it's over
Right
here.
there.
no, that one.
Yeah, that one I got it.
Right.
I'm
That's
just
the one
a
you
buil-
had.
That's
Yeah.
a building.
I got it.
But anyways.
It's pretty neat, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't really think anything about it when you're walking through it, but to think about how this can really,
Come alive.
yeah.
I
change
mean,
it.
before there was a kid walking through there and you could see him weaving in and out and, I mean, it could be a really cool space
Mhm.
yeah.
to work with.
Where the columns are connected, the concrete columns that are underneath the rafters, is that to be painted? or
Yes,
covered
because that's
as
the
well?
concrete
Here?
surface,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
Anything that looks like this,
Mhm. Is what you
and
paint.
anything that's under here, these aprons are,
Yep.
are fair game. Hi.
Are the columns square or rectangular?
Come on in, Gypsy.
I would say
It's square.
rectangular.
Square.
Is it
You mean
square?
the base?
Yeah, the
You mean
columns.
base?
Columns are
Yeah.
They're
square.
equally wide.
Yeah.
They're 3 feet by
So
3
many
feet.
Yeah.
people would go in
Okay.
there.
Hi. Thanks. All right.
So I know we gave a lot of information. We're here to definitely answer any questions that you have. Like I said, Denise, the art director, and the program director, Amy, myself, Merritt, any questions that you have in terms of just execution, supplies, what we're including, timeline, just ideas in general, you're more than welcome to ask, and we will do our best to answer.
This, like I said, this is all linked to the application,
Yep.
so if you're not getting a clear picture of this now, you can always go to the application and look at it in depth.
So the schematics are a bit of a handful.
There might be a little overwhelming, actually.
Yeah,
but-
they're quite overwhelming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good reference if you need it.
Karina,
in
do you
terms
want
of
to talk
staffing.
anything about say anything about the DOT stuff?
So did anybody read through and have any questions about the DOT regulations at all?
Well, I have a question.
Mhm.
Do you have the height, the height, the numbers, how many feet each column is?
Yes, so that is on, if Merritt can go back, where that is actually on the submittable front page. So those measurements are on there.
I think it's something
I
like
think it's 16 and a half feet high.
And is that to where the apron starts or to
Yeah,
where?
so that's all the way up to where that adjoining piece goes across.
They're different
Yeah.
heights, actually. Some are shorter than.
Oh, okay.
Actually, a little
Down?
bit down.
Yeah.
A little more
A
down.
little more down.
A little more.
Ah, there it is.
There you go.
So-
16, the pillars are roughly 16.5 feet high
Right.
and 2
2
feet
feet,
and
1.5 inch wide on each side.
1.5 inches wide.
And sorry, just to be really clear, that's to like where it hits the
Where it hits
columns
the top
above?
part, yeah,
Yeah.
right before the girder. So
Okay.
literally right up to the girder.
Yeah.
And these are guesstimates, so that's why we included the schematics on it too.
Are we allowed to
And
review
how
them?
big are these?
Oh yeah, the
schematics?
the schematics are this, which link is it?
It's right, it
Okay.
says
Right there,
schematics,
when you see
right
link
there.
to schematics.
Okay.
Yep, everything
Oh,
is
great.
on there.
Yeah.
And this is the video right here.
Corinne, you said the columns will be primed. Is that just one coat?
One coat,
One coat.
yes. Yeah.
So is there any size about the aprons that are going at an
That's
angle?
all on the schematics, the link for the schematics. So right here where Merritt was pointing, all of those sizes for the aprons are on there.
Oh, we're getting this in the computer.
Yes,
yes.
so when you click on the submittable to
Okay.
submit, you'll see all of this information that's
I
here.
see.
Yep.
Will the ramps be primed?
Yes, everywhere that you guys are going to paint is gonna be power washed and primed,
Oh,
yes.
According to your proposal.
Yep, according to the proposal. So the DOT really talks about control of language, making sure that there's no political campaign speech, obscenity or nudity involved in the process, political campaign speech. All of this is actually uploaded on to the submittable, and that is, yep, right on the bottom. So we do have extra copies. Do you have any specific questions about DOT regulations? Because then I can just kind of like pinpoint and go through.
I will point out that this says for traffic signal cabinets,
Right,
so it's been signed off on here, as the same rules for this. It's just, they just took the rules and said, yeah, we're the same for this, with the exception of a couple things. One is, it says there's no spray paint allowed. Of course, there is allowed paint to be sprayed there. That has to do with the cabinet mechanisms inside the cabinets, and of course, we're not dealing with that kind of thing. And there was something else too. Now that
I had one stipulation on here, all artwork must be original, obviously, and designs cannot serve as an advertisement for a business or other public or private enterprises. Therefore, no words unless used in a historical context. Advertisements or commercial logos of any kind shall be included on or within the mural. Artwork shall not mimic any traffic control devices. To me, this is kind of funny, but the artwork must not cause driver distraction or otherwise necessarily engage the attention of drivers. The artwork must not result in conditions that would compromise the flow of traffic or increase roadway information clutter. During this process, we will get a lot of traffic and a lot of traffic clutter. That's why it's very important that once we are in the execution phase, that we are very careful in what we're doing in terms of safety, in terms of who is specifically going to be on site. The O Positive Poughkeepsie team, along with the O Positive Kingston team, will always have someone present while the artist is painting. So the artist will never be alone, you know, during their painting time. They'll always be able to resource in case there's anything that, you know, they need. We did cover for any type of logistics budget. Let's say something gets run over or something gets broken or anything like that, we are able to cover that. One of the questions was holding supplies, art supplies, while you're down there. We're definitely gonna have some type of Rubbermaid contraption that's going to be locked and sealed. That's gonna be on the underpass, which is by the sidewalk, more pushed back. So, I think we just need to have a conversation later on in the game, once we get to that second phase, on what's gonna be kept in there. But we also don't want the artists to have to lug all of their materials day in and day out and day in and day out for 10 days. Or you could be faster, it could be done in 5 days. I know Julie is going for the record, right?
This is a separate project, this entirely, right?
A separate project from.
From the gateway.
No,
No,
this
no,
is the
same
gateway.
project.
Yep,
It's
this
part
is
of
the
the
gateway.
gateway.
This is the gateway, so this is just the stipulations that DOT has when you're painting a public structure. That's all this is. Any questions? I know your wheels are turning.
Let's go back to the questions page. It's pretty
Well,
You answered it, that's part of me.
I have no track.
As far as the pillars go, and when you actually get down to the final picking of the artists,
Mhm.
how many, I guess what I want to say is how much space will we have? How many pillars will each artist be? Actually.
So I don't know if we maybe explained
It's
it, so
12.
it's 12 in total,
Right,
and it's
6
based on
episode.
your submission, right?
Oh, okay.
So whatever you're thinking about your submission process, that's what you're gonna submit.
Okay.
And then that encapsulates your entire vision.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so
pretty much-
whether, right, so if you wanted to do all 12 pillars and you
Right.
didn't wanna include the aprons, that is solely your choice.
Gotcha.
Yep,
Gotcha.
solely your choice.
Is there a possibility that more than one person will be given a project? That you
So-
split it into two sides?
So,
I'm kinda laughing, we
we're
talked
gonna,
about that too. Yep.
we're gonna go with one proposal at the end.
Yep.
But we've gotten several questions about if there can be more than one artist on that proposal. And I'm gonna say theoretically, yes. Keeping in mind the budget is what it is. The commission fee is $8,000. So if you're gonna have more than one artist, then it's gonna be split up among how many artists. Also, we've had a few questions about volunteers and assistants, students, things like that. If you have anything, ideas like that you wanna put in your proposed budget, that's great. You can go ahead and do that. Just remember that everyone that is on this project does become a temporary employee of Arts Mid-Hudson. So that includes all that withholding, all that liability insurance, everything. And so the more people on the project, the less money per person. And also, we can't have any children or minors, we can't have any minors, okay?
So just to add to what Merritt is saying, there also has to be one specific point person for the submission. So if, let's say Denise and Frank were pairing up and they were gonna put a proposal together, there has to be one person that's going to submit. So that person is gonna be the person that is gonna move forward in the submission process, that's gonna be the contact person, and then alongside that, they will include their team. Do you see what I'm saying? So we can't, if it was Julia and Frank, we can't just split it between Julia and Frank. They need to be either under Julia's name or under Frank's name.
Do we have to have our own liability insurance?
No,
No,
you
that's
do
gonna
not.
come when you become,
With
Yes.
the
yeah,
Arts
when you
Council?
become an employee of Arts Mid-Hudson. Hey, and you can say you work for Arts Mid-Hudson. Hey.
Exactly, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Which let me tell ya, it's a privilege.
I have a question to the budget. So the $8,000, that's the artist's fee.
That's correct.
What about materials, et cetera, et cetera?
Materials are all covered.
Yeah, so we've allotted in the budget where we wanted the artists to come away with sole compensation for their work. So we didn't want them to have to worry about any other supplies that were needed. So in order to ensure the ability to be creative and to really hone in on what you see for this space, we allotted for that. So lifts, lighting, paint, supplies, housing, food, lodging,
For those who live outside of the area.
outside of Poughkeepsie, yes,
You're not gonna pay your
correct.
rent while you're working.
Yeah, exactly.
So the $8,000 covers the materials or not?
No.
Nope, it's $8,000 just for the
Just for you.
execution.
So the materials are a separate
They will pay
entity?
for all that.
Yes. I'm sorry.
In terms of materials, I'm thinking about the budget for the materials, I mean, what if it was tile, for example, which would be a lot more
Oh, so if
expensive
it was
than
like a
paint?
fixture,
Well, to say that apron's covered in a tile
Okay.
mosaic or something, the
Mhm.
cost of that would be a lot higher than the
right,
cost of, say, paint.
right.
So how would that stand with the?
So Mary, you can jump in on it too, but what I would say is that being as specific as you can be in your submission process, and then us being able to go back to you and talk about the parameters of what we can do. So, you know, whether we need to re-allot some funding in the budget, you know, obviously, are you a Poughkeepsie resident?
No.
Okay, so that would make, you know, be different. You know, for somebody who's a Poughkeepsie resident, obviously they're not gonna need food and housing and lodging.
Well, you're
So-
traditionally
Yes.
local.
Yeah,
Oh, you are
local,
local.
it's not
Okay,
Poughkeepsie.
right, right. So I think really, the real way to kind of like answer your question is just really to be as clear and specific about your submission as you possibly can, and then we'll go from there.
I think that's right, yeah.
Yeah,
In the submission, I think there's a place where you can put your proposed budget.
Yeah, if you can get as detailed as that as
Right.
possible,
Right.
that would be really helpful to the committee.
there was a lot of space for it,
Yeah,
right?
there is,
Yeah,
yeah.
so they can put actually,
If we're on,
Could the
Yeah, but
artist
let's-
specify the color of the priming?
so it should be like a light grayish color, like a whitish, yeah.
So there is already a color in it? It's something-
Yes,
okay.
but it's as light as you can, yeah.
if we're having an assistant, how much should we budget for the insurance for them, for like liability insurance?
You don't have to budget liability
That's
insurance.
covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because you were saying the more people you had working on it, then the money would have to come from somewhere.
Right, that comes from us, but it's, just think, we only have so much money for the whole project, so it
Mhm.
might affect other aspects of the project, is all I meant by that, so.
So the artist does or does not have to say materials are going to be this much, liability insurance will be this much?
No, you don't have to worry about
Don't
materials
write.
liability, you
Okay.
just have to say, but I do wanna pay my assistant this much,
Okay.
and I wanna, you know what I mean, so.
I think it would only affect the budget if you were to come in with a volunteer group of like 20.
Right, yeah.
And then, you know, that would definitely affect, you know, the budget. But if you're coming in with the volunteer group of 4 or 5, you know, that's something that, you know, is doable.
What I just meant that like, it's not, there's not gonna be any extra money for other,
Right.
it's just, it is what it is, it's $8,000.
Yeah, to be divided by how.
I think
Right.
that's what, there will be less money because it will be split, the
Right,
8,000 will be
Mhm.
split and it won't be, that is.
So I didn't see in the submittable a chance to explain about the artwork. I mean, the artwork itself explained by itself, but I wonder if we come back up the artwork
You mean
with
like the
some
concept? The
narrative.
concept,
Yeah,
Right.
there's a
There's
field that
space.
says, what do
There
you
is a
Is
field.
there, I
envision?
saw it.
Yeah.
What's the limit
Yeah.
of the words? How many?
I think that wasn't
500.
limited by
500.
500, was it?
That's the explanation. I
Okay.
didn't
That's a
see.
lot.
I
It's
just
like
checked.
Two pages.
Yeah.
Okay,
500,
great. I just keep going.
Yeah, we really want to know how you intend to engage the Poughkeepsie audience. I think it's, you know, it's really an interesting philosophical question too, and one that will be thought about a lot by the committee who reviews the submissions. So, as thoughtful as you can be in 500 words.
And how is the judging? Is like 50-50, the arts Mid-Hudson with all positive, or it's more all positive?
So
or
it is a
one?
7-member board, jury, and it comprises of O Positive, a member of Arts Mid-Hudson, a member of the City Arts Council, what was
Poughkeepsie
the other one?
Alliance.
Poughkeepsie Alliance, member of the Poughkeepsie Alliance, and I'm forgetting one other person, or a couple more people.
So there's like 7 entities that
Yes.
will input.
Yes.
At least-
And opposite is one.
O Positive is one, City of Poughkeepsie, Arts Council,
Is one person?
Yep.
Not-
one person from each, yeah. Arts
The City of
Mid-Hudson.
Poughkeepsie, okay, and the other
Yep.
ones.
So we try to make it as inclusive as we can and representative of a lot of local organizations, so.
Is August 4th O Positive Day in Poughkeepsie?
Yes, yes it is.